Should be back with us forthwith.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Well, Wayne, I hit the end meeting button. That's not what you want to do.
Hey, we live in a technical world.
We do, we do.
We do. And humans, we created this, so there you go.
Yeah,
So
we just had a
anyway,
little bit of operator error, I think is what they call that.
well, you just
So how are
absorb
you
it.
doing?
I'm doing good, Jeff. Company has finally left, and one of the things Lynn and I were talking about was the energy. Certain people carry very negative energy. Um,
Boy, isn't that the
and
truth.
and if your house and yourself are not protected against that type of energy can be highly disruptive, if not flat out um, not healthy.
So you're pretty glad to have the company gone, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like I said, just some people, it's I wish I could say there were more people aware, but they're not. So
They're not. They're
no,
not.
they
I
don't.
see Warrior Princess gave herself a promotion and she's now Warrior Queen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, well, that's how that works too. That's good.
Excellent. Glad to see that.
Lois is a wonderful person, I'll tell you.
She is Warrior Queen. That's probably more fitting than Warrior
And I
Princess,
say,
right?
don't mess with the queen.
Do not mess with the Queen.
No.
So Wayne, you saw these crazy things in New York City and in New Orleans. They say that it's aliens. They say it's Jesus coming back, and the government powers of be says it was Transformers arcing and stuff.
Yes,
Did you see those?
I did.
What
Yes.
do you think about them?
Well, we hit a level 5 geomagnetic storm for a brief period of time. The KP index again hit KP. It was a 5. The coronal stream that we get off of the sun recorded both in temperature, density, and speed a dramatic increase of all three. And
Hmm.
what most people don't understand, and they should begin to study this. So we get particles coming off the sun. It's part of what we call the solar wind. So when we get into a coronal hole, and we were feeling the full effects of the energy coming off of this coronal hole. And what happens is that the particles, it's like snow. If you start doing a shovel and you start shoveling snow, at some point in time, the snow is going to overwhelm the shovel. And that's what happened. And it was exactly what we should have expected, that you would have these electrical outlets. 911 was out through CenturyLink. We see these all the time happening to computer and airlines and other things. So, yeah, it was very unusual. We just happened to be in the red zone as the Earth was coming around and caught that full force of that.
So why did it happen only in New York and New Orleans?
Again, people don't understand. You're dealing with particles. You're dealing with cosmic intensity of heat, radiation, etc. And it's hitting this, and it's not wide. It doesn't go like a blanket. It finds the weakest points. And apparently up in New York, there was a magnetic electrical connection. The same thing down in Kerner, Louisiana. The same thing. In fact, if you look at the video that I saw in Kerner, Louisiana, it was exactly what I would have expected out of a geomagnetic electrical storm. And you
It's
can
actually Kenner, so we don't get a bunch of
Kenner,
emails.
yeah, Kenner, excuse me. And you can see how exactly it goes when it hits power lines. It's the same thing that happened in 1856 with the Carrington event. Only thing was back then we had telegraph wires.
Right.
And people reported that they could see the electrical going down the telegraph wires. This is what happened here.
So Wayne, I'm disappointed that you don't think it was the blue avians or it wasn't the second, third, fourth, fifth return of Plastic Jesus?
Nope. Not yet.
Well, that's kind of boring.
Well, no, listen, I think that now here's the troublesome part of this. It shows that we're not prepared. The American public is not prepared and has not been educated in what geomagnetic storms, solar storms, look like. Just my take. And it's kind of odd for me, and I'll just tell you, when I looked at the event, that was a weak storm. I mean, it was a weak geomagnetic storm. Hit level 5. I don't know. Is our atmosphere changing? I think yes. As the magnetopause weakened, I think yes. Are we going to see more intensities of this? Yes. Now, does someone want to take advantage of the situation and say that I am the second Christ coming and do some manifestations and, have the whole, hologram thing going on in the sky? Yeah, it could happen.
Whatever happened to that Lord Rael guy that said he was Jesus, and he was like loud and around a lot, and all of a sudden he's gone. He was a former guardian angel.
Mm-hmm. Well, they come and go. They come and
They
go.
come and go. Maybe he's just out in the desert, right, for 40 days and nights.
It could be, I think things are getting weird, Jeff. I mean, just flat out weird. There's so much going on. I was reading today, if the government isn't funded or made special provisions, the EBT cards run out at midnight on New Year's Eve. You know what that means?
Well, how many days has the government been shut down?
Well, it's been shut down since, I think, Christmas, before Christmas, I think the holidays.
So it's been about a week?
2 weeks, I think, something like that. Anyway.
I hate to say this, Wayne, but the government's been shut down. I haven't even missed it.
Yeah. Well, the concern I'm trying to talk about where the EBT cards are concerned, that's food stamps. Are you starting to get the connection?
I am, and here I am thinking in my head, this is a really good reason for people to realize that they shouldn't be dependent upon the government. It's a really good time to say, oops, maybe I better be dependent on me and not the government.
Yeah, but you do that in the middle of a train going 110 miles an hour, you got a bloody train wreck.
I hear you.
And my point is that, listen, I don't know. I'm not saying maybe they're going to make a special provision quickly. I don't know. But people go to start trying to eat on January 1st using their EBT cards around the country, and they're not working. I don't know.
Yeah. And I didn't, during the reign of Lord Obama, almost, I think we're at 50% plus almost of people on some type of government assistance.
Yeah, I think in California, yeah, this is, and that's the biggest trap. It is.
I wonder if the two are, let me wax conspiratorial. Are the two connected so that people will riot and they can impose martial law?
Boy, now we can begin to go on to the extreme, but I would say that I think cause and effect.
Yeah.
It's the fourth principle of, hermetics, is that we've got a polarization about to happen here. And yeah, and you're right. As I said, if you want to take advantage of a situation, that might be it.
Boy, I mean, that's a polarization, those that can eat and those that cannot eat.
Isn't it fact? Well, yesterday, the president signed an executive order freezing all federal workers' pay for 2019.
Great idea.
Well, from a balance the budget aspect of it, yeah. And, so we're talking about things coming up for 2019. The plan that I have heard that's apparently going to get unanimous support from the party in charge when they get, sworn in, Medicaid for everyone. No one's talking about the cost of this. I'm seeing indications already in the future markets. Monetarily, this could be a tsunami that we're not prepared for. And I think the only way that it could begin to be handled is through a limited police action.
Somebody said, I thought food stamps come from the state. I think they do, but I think it's federally funded.
It is.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, most of the states, folks, where most of the cards are used at, they're heavily in debt. They don't have the money to fund those cards.
Yeah. And, you know, what was I just thinking about? We talked about the food stamps thing, and then what do we talk
Martial
about
law.
next? Oh, his first order frees federal salaries. His second order should have been to end with the new year every pension for every elected official.
Oh, absolutely. That's the slave system that we're in. These politicians, that's what you call a slave master.
It
They're
is.
slave masters. I don't care what color they are, they're slave masters. You know why? Because they self-enrich themselves, engorge themselves off the sweat of the back of the people. They don't represent the people. I challenge any congressman, any Democratic congressman from New York who would like to debate this issue to come on my channel, R. Wayne Steiger.
And when I have a sneaking suspicion that they are going to come up with something 11th hour to make sure that the EBT cards do get funded. But if you're holding an EBT card and you can't eat unless the government puts money on that thing, wakey, no eggs in bakey.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get yourself to the place where you can feed your damn self and not worry about Uncle Sam or any other uncle to feed you. I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for that, but that's part of guiding your own spirit, master your own ascension, being your own guru. That's part of being divine sovereign. You ain't divine sovereign and free if you can't feed yourself.
Well, let me just say, we're having this conversation. Lois, Warrior Queen, is exactly the solution to this.
She is exactly right.
Her example is exactly what the federal government and every state government should be modeling. No government should be handling who gets to eat and who doesn't get to eat. It should be a community responsibility within every community to feed those in times of need, but it also is not a free handout.
Right.
And that's just it. And Lois does it with love. She does it with a non-religious, non-political basis. It's food. And in fact, if the grocery store associations were to get together and begin to work with the local food banks and other organizations like Warrior Queen, they would begin to see that we could channel the 48% of the waste of food every day that goes thrown into landfills.
Yeah. But aren't there government laws that they can't give that food away?
Exactly. Yeah, you go from
Isn't that amazing? Let's keep them dependent upon us to give them food when there's perfectly good food that goes to waste.
You know, I have some cop friends, and the biggest problem they have is that when they see homeless people doing the dumpster dives in the grocery stores behind, it's like one cop told me, what do you do? You know, these people have a right to eat, but they're breaking the law.
It's against the law to dumpster dive?
Oh, yeah. In many municipalities, you cannot go into these dumpsters behind grocery stores or eateries.
And these things are full of perfectly edible food.
Perfectly edible food.
Wow.
So here it is. You got a person. One cop told me, he said there was a mother and she had 2 kids. He said, you know, what am I going to do? You know what he did? He went out and gave her $20.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't breaking the law.
Well, it's an interesting system they have set up.
Oh, it's just a slave system, Jeff. It's as I've contended, I went to the gal who cuts my hair. Hello, Julie, over at Solia. And say to Vicky and Diana as well. But, we're born into death. Any way you look at this experience, no matter how much we want to extrapolate the positiveness of it and the richness of the experience of being alive in these bio bodies and having that opportunity to experience this state of consciousness, get it. But the system that we are born into is a prison system.
I agree. And somebody says it's only 40% of the people are dependent upon the government. Okay, well, it's only 40 then. Only
You know
40
what?
then, not
That's like,
5.
splitting hairs of the baby. Come on. The fact is,
A lot of people.
it's too many. You know, why do people got to be so picky-handed about
So
things?
why is it another year and people still aren't getting it, Wayne? And we're about to come into 2019, and throughout 2018, despite our best efforts, Wayne,
Yeah.
people still aren't getting it.
No. Isn't it odd that in 2017, people had the same questions, the same fears, the same anxieties going into 2018 as now they're going to get ready to do to 2019. So let's talk about what new disaster is going to happen. Let's talk about what new catastrophe is going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of that evidence, I would agree. I'm just trying to extrapolate, where do we find the joy?
Yeah. Steve makes the statement that with Social Security, it's over 70%, but I don't think you can count as government support the
No,
government
no, 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 no,
back
no,
a
no. Come
minuscule
on,
portion
Steve.
of your money back.
Most of the Social Security recipients paid. And let me tell you
Absolutely.
what, most of those
Overpaid.
Social Security recipients today have to pay taxes on that Social Security check. That's double taxation, Steve. Those who are getting off the EBT system don't pay into it. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay anything. That's the imbalance. Now we're going to get into ideologies here.
I'm looking
Let's
at
move
what
on.
Robert said. Congress out of session, government shutdown, executive order signed last December 21st against human trafficking and racketeering was extended for another year. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know what that means
To
either.
make arrest of the corrupted government, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I say this, most Americans have no idea what their government does. They don't care. They really don't. And
Just as long as their EBT card's still cash.
yeah, it's again, it's a slave system. Democracy in its purest form is a slave system.
Some people have said that the Civil War was fought and it was bad before because we had a lot of black people that were slaves. It's worse now because guess what? We're all slaves.
We're all slaves. The thing is that Americans have forgotten we're a republic. We're not a democracy.
Yep.
Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, is predicated on the principle and on the treatise that we are a republic. And our founding fathers in the debate clearly made this well known in the papers, in the Federalist Papers that anyone can read, that the debate was the reason why we are a republic and not a democracy, because a democracy is no more than another form of the monarchy. And the distinction about a republic and a democracy is the fact that a republic is more self-individual responsibility, not collective majorities.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That's why certain party wants to do away with electoral college. Our founding fathers must have been tapped into something, because it's the one thing that they can't subjugate. And I still say that that's where the Trump strategist won.
Yeah.
And Hillary, the Clintons lost, was because she failed to keep her eye on the chessboard.
Well, see, the knee-jerk reactionists don't understand, oh, it sounds so good to get away the electoral college. Just go by the popular vote. But what these unsophisticated individuals don't realize is that if there were no electoral college and it was strictly by the popular vote, you would never see a politician campaign outside of Florida, New York, California,
Michigan, Ohio,
Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio. That's it.
Yep.
You would never see them anywhere else, because you could win New York, California, and Florida and almost be president.
Yep.
So you need a little bit more. So that's why there's electoral college, dummies. So
That's
everybody gets represented, and it's the government of the entire.
Well, there's a move now that they're going to try to introduce that begins to elect senators based upon population. And that's wrong, because we got that already with Congress.
Yeah, the House of Representatives are the states are allotted numbers of representatives based on population.
Exactly. And
So
most
the
people
Senate
don't.
is supposed to be even Steven.
Yeah, and they don't understand the role of the Senate. Now, I agree that the Senate is archaic in a lot of its rules and its procedures. But in many times, it has proven to be both good and bad for us. I mean, when Harry Reid did the nuclear option, he set a precedent. And today, that precedent has come back to haunt the Democrats. And if it becomes the norm, well, then our government teeters even more. I contend, Jeff, that the real concern I have is that we're going to be coming into 2019 with a constitutional crisis.
And what's the constitutional crisis you speak of?
I think they're going to invoke the 25th Amendment.
And tell people what the 25th Amendment is.
That's
Wayne.
when you can actually remove the president due to anything. I mean, it's so ambiguous. It's where you can literally forcibly remove the president, remove his powers, and those powers then go to the vice president. Once that takes place, there's a 90-day period. The president then can send a formal declaration to the Senate. It has another period of time. In essence, it removes the power of the presidency of the executive office for at least 180 days.
Yeah.
Now, you start doing this to the government of the United States, that's going to bring collapse. World leaders will have no confidence in the United States and its ability to govern. Will become like Israel, where the prime minister then becomes subjective to the ways, the froze, etc. But I think this is what's going to happen. They're going to impeach him. The question becomes, do they invoke the 25th Amendment?
I don't think they do.
I think they do.
So we're making predictions here today, folks. Wayne says they will. I say they won't. Next year we'll fall back and see who was right and who was wrong.
Well, whatever Mueller did before the Supreme Court, that's the thing that bugs me. We're supposed to have transparency particularly in the courts. The judiciary is supposed to be non-biased. That's why Lady Liberty is blindfolded justice. But whatever is going on there, it involved the Supreme Court, and that's unusual. And
Yeah.
in fact, the Pelosi, as she gets the speakership, which I suspect that she will, their agenda is already, they say that they're going to impeach him. You're going to see a plethora of new investigations. It's going to be insane, folks. And Jeff, I think that this is where they're going to get back at the Republicans what the Republicans did to Clinton, with an old vendetta. Now, they didn't remove Clinton from office. Yes, he was impeached, but he was not removed.
Interesting. I'm just looking at the 25th Amendment. Allows the vice president to become president in the event of the death, resignation, or removal from office, or impairment that prevents a current president from fulfilling his or her duties.
I did a whole show on it, my friend, and the ambiguity in the language is purposeful.
Oh, I'm sure.
You see the last two clauses?
I clicked off of it.
Yeah, well, those last two clauses is that I could come back and let's say that you were the president, and I could talk to my colleagues, and I'm going to say, you know what? Known the man for 25 years. This isn't normal. I think the pressure's getting to him, man. Listen, he's looking like he's more isolated. He looks like he's, everyone's against him. You see where I'm going at?
Really?
And so I get some of the country's finest leading psychiatrists and personality analyzers. They make a report back to the Senate. The Senate then gets involved with Pence and says, we got a problem here. The Democrats are going to use this. You see where this is going? How does the president defend himself? He
So do you
can't.
think Pence goes rogue?
I'm on the record of saying that nearly almost 18 months ago on the Rex Bear Show.
That Pence is going to go rogue?
I think that I think he's being conditioned for the position.
Interesting. Well, you know that Donald won't go quietly.
No. Mm-mm. But this becomes a constitutional crisis.
Boy, it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah. That's just on the political front.
And Caroline makes an interesting statement. Caroline says, Wayne, supposedly
Suppose the
the
military.
military is behind Trump.
Yeah. I wouldn't be so sure. So let's go. You see, us humans, we have a problem with our memory. I want to take everyone back, back to 2010. We're doing the time travel, Jeff.
Okay.
Look what happened. You see, every January, the Senate must reappropriate the National Defense Authorization Act, or otherwise the military doesn't run.
Right.
Obama, under his administration, fired more of the top generals than any other president has. That left a huge vacuum in our upper strata. And I'm just going to be very candid with it. That was brought in with another religious belief in many of those high positions. What Trump did here recently in the Syria move.
Was that Islam, Wayne?
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a divide.
So it's almost like Obama was trying to stack the military with Islamic leaders.
Well, let me just say those that, and everyone has a right to their faith. We've got nothing to say on either side of it, but that's how the chessboard is set.
Wow.
So, Caroline, I wish it was true. Now, I think there has been a surge of patriotism back into the military. Remember, when Trump took over, our military was so demoralized. The recruiters couldn't fill the quota. We were taking what by even the military standards were substandard recruits. They could not fulfill the physical requirements. Most of them barely passed the educational requirements. It takes
I think Caroline's exactly right as far as rank and file military is heavily pro-Trump. I'll have to do some more studying on the purge of the generals.
Yep. And that's actually what it was, too. The purge of the generals. I was heavily involved in politics back then. We were freaking out. And then when the election of 2012 took place, we really thought there was a hope with McCain, but McCain now shows that he never wanted to be president. It was never his intent to be president. You could say that he was a tokenization for the Republicans' efforts. I don't know. All I know is that we saw another 4 years of rapid deterioration of underfunding of the military, restacking. The president does this. So he's the commander in chief. The disabling of aircraft carriers. It was just widespread. And remember, it was under the Obama administration that the United States lost its position as a space explorer. And
it makes you wonder what Obama was president for.
I don't know.
There's a lot of people that love Obama like people love Kennedy.
One day people will realize, stop worshiping the man.
Yep.
They'll fail you. I don't care if it's Obama, Trump, Clinton, whoever. In the end, they'll always disappoint you. But that's what people do. Anyway, boy, this show's gotten off to a political start. Woo!
And people are not fans of John McCain, and yeah, he definitely was. He's been called a traitor. He's been called the devil incarnate,
Yeah.
and
He was
they're
the one
probably
who
not far
leaked.
off.
He was the one, his staff leaked illegally information on the Trump dossier.
Yep.
And why we got no repercussions for that, I don't know. But I mean, well, because we no longer have any government. We no longer have any law enforcement. Our top law enforcement agency is corrupt, compromised. How the hell do you have civility when you have the top law enforcement, the Department of Justice, which is the FBI, etc., that are corrupt? Leaders that broke the law, still breaking the law, and are proud of it. And yet we see no persecutions, we see no prosecutions, we see no indictments. This is a free pass. Well, what does that tell the rest of America? What does that tell the average cop that's putting his life on the line when a citizen says, listen, I'm a sovereign traveler. I have the ability because he can point directly to the FBI, the Department of Justice, breaking the laws, and in fact, endorsing it. This is the problem we have, Jeff. Now we get into problem number 2, the civil part of this. And it's a fine line.
Wow. Robert says that Pence is controlled by the P2 Lodge of the Vatican. And if that's true, it's not good for humanity.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the P2 Lodge of the Vatican is.
I don't know. But you know what? Isn't it odd? What does Pence head up? What
do you mean?
The Space Force.
Oh, is Pence the head of the Space Force?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Things are going on, folks. I mean, it's I think 2019 is going to be a year. I have proclaimed over on my channel, I said, let's just proclaim for ourselves restoration. Let's proclaim restoration for our country, restoration of civility, restoration of responsibility. Responsibility, restoration of loving thy fellow man. These are the things that I think we're going to desperately need.
Pardon me. Yeah, I agree with you. It is time for a restoration of those things, but whether we're going to do it or not,
I don't know.
And Tracy's making her own prediction. Pence will be out before 2020.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, the deck is getting shuffled. And I'm like Caroline. That's why I left politics. It is a virus, and it's the black goo. And that's all I will say. You start messing with the black goo, that's what Christianity is, the black goo. There are several other religions that are the black goo.
This is true.
It's very true. In fact, I would say all 4 of the major religions are of the black goo.
I would too. Somebody says that Trump is controlled by, well, Pat Buchanan used to say that the U.S. Congress was Israeli occupied territory. And it seems like they've expanded that to include the White House.
I tell you, man, it is. Can you imagine living 24/7 in that insanity?
No.
The energy from it. That's why I walked away from it. I just said, this will kill a person. And I didn't mean physically. It will kill you spiritually. I mean, it shuts off all the chakra flow. It suppresses the energy around you, and eventually it sucks you so much that the only power that you have left is that which is in your spirit, and you disengage the body because it can't no longer power it.
Wayne, what did you make of the Bush funeral where everybody was getting those envelopes?
Yeah.
And somebody said Pence got one. I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either. I didn't watch it.
Me either.
I don't watch the news anymore. I will not. I'll read the headlines. I'll see what's going on. I can scan a headline and somewhat protect myself from the negative vibes. But man,
but that one that was handed to Laura Bush and then she shows it to W and Jeb, whatever was in it, they were not happy. I don't know if it was naked pictures of somebody or what, but it was bad news.
That family. Mm. Powerful mojo over there.
And I guess the Clintons got one too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Mm.
And of course, everybody says, "Oh, those are the indictments. It's a proof that Trump is doing something." Come on, man! Don't be reaching like that. You don't know what those
I have no
documents
idea.
were.
You know,
It could have been the sacrifice for this afternoon has been canceled.
I remember, I'll just say this. I was at a dinner party, this is years ago, with certain congressmen. There was a couple of senators there. Folks, there are some things that we don't even know. We're not aware of it. People don't understand there's an initiation. When you get voted into office, you have the swearing in ceremony. But folks, there's stuff that goes in the background that you have no idea about. And Washington, D.C. is a cult center, big time. And there are powerful, powerful archons that dwell there. And I'll just leave it at that.
You know, Caroline, Renaissance woman, makes an interesting statement. She says, "I wish people would stop putting the blame on Satan or Lucifer."
That dude
That's an
is
interesting statement.
You know, I did a video on it. I said Lucifer is not Satan, and when did Satan get a promotion?
Yeah.
Satan is Jeff, you teach it all the time. It means adversary.
Yeah, we used to tell a joke back in the Christian days that the devil's sitting out on the front steps of a church crying his eyes out, and some little girl walked out and said, "What's wrong, Mr. Devil?" He says, "Oh, it's those Christians. They blame me for everything."
And wait a minute. The dichotomy is I thought the cat on the cross was the one who defeated the dude that gets all the blame.
Yeah, so somebody's not doing their job.
Well, I don't know what happened there. Something happened, and I keep on hearing it. Well, and in fact, the Pope is saying it now. He says that the reason for the Catholic Church's woes is because Satan is winning. I'm going to say,
Wow.
well, it might help if you stopped worshiping.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what they
So
say?
much for that blood sacrifice,
Yeah.
dead guy on a stick they got hanging around.
Well, and why do they do the invocation of Lucifer on Easter? Every Easter.
Wayne, just take it by faith. Put that on the shelf. Don't ask those kind of questions.
Yeah, just walk on. Nothing to see here, folks. Come on, move along.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about a subject that I have been really thinking about, the soul trap of our species, and who knows of how many other species. Thought, is Earth a prison planet?
Until you wake up, until you become aware of where you are, yes.
Well, that's a lot. So we'll take that.
So yes, we'll just say yes.
Okay. Do other life forms exist outside of the Earth itself?
Yes.
Okay. Does good and evil exist outside of the Earth itself, in the universe itself?
I would say balance and unbalance does.
Okay, so we would say that yes, there would, because any intelligent cultural society, off-world somewhere, billions of years old, will have laws and they will have regulations. You have to have balance, just like you said.
Right.
So the interesting thing about Earth is where we stand in the galaxy. We are out in this remote region. Penal colonies. We know Australia was
the Australia of the universe.
Yes, that's where I'm coming from.
It should make a man to be feel good.
We are, in fact, the penal colony of this quadrant of the galaxy. I know it seems odd, but then again, I was meditating last night while doing laundry, no less. And it's a great way to do a lot of meditating. But I look back and I think of all the Buddha. I think of the message that was purported by the Christ. Other holy ones that come and said, we're going to show you a way to escape. Because that's basically what they're saying. You take the religion out of it and you synthesize it down, is what they're saying. We have an answer how to get the hell out of here.
Carmen's also an Aussie. I forgot about Carmen. Sorry.
Yeah. So it just occurred to me, what if we are, in fact, on a prison planet, that we are just in this soul trap? We can't get out.
So does that mean we've all been sentenced here, Wayne?
Yes. The implications are this. Jeff, I have been meditating more and more, my friend, on the fact that I am a spirit, I am a soul. And in those two statements, I am spirit, I am soul, means that I'm eternal. Means I had no beginning. Means I'll have no end. But what it does mean is that there is responsibility. Now, I read a book 4 years ago called The Species with Amnesia. Recommended.
Hello, Thailand.
Hello, Thailand. And the whole basis is this, Jeff. Our species, Homo sapiens sapiens, we have amnesia. Our memories have been wiped. And the interesting thing, the program is designed to continually wipe our memory. If you go to the light, it is said, you get recycled back in. Because it's not only the light, but you're going to be apparently dazzled with music, something that attracts you, that makes you feel loved, makes you feel engulfing, and you get sucked back in. And apparently the process is that when you hit that light, that is actually a spiritual force field that hits you with about several billion volts of energy that wipes your memory. And you go back. I'm glad I'm getting to share this with you on our show here. I wrote it down.
That's interesting stuff. That really is.
So let me finish something out. I did the video on how big is the tear. YouTube didn't like that. I had to demonetize it.
Really?
They barred it, yeah, from advertising, and we're going to put age restriction on it because it gets into this very subject. Hear me out. Up until 1945, prior to the nuclear wars that we can talk about, which were several thousand years ago, this force field captures spirits as they begin to go out. They get recycled back in. I contend there are many other species. When we exploded the first atomic bomb in the atmosphere, I believe that this shorted out this force field. We didn't know about it. We didn't know about the force field, the spiritual force field. It was said by the military that by those who observed the victims in Hiroshima and Hiroshima, their belief is they didn't die. The way that the event happened. And if you look at it, when you explode an atom in an atmosphere, it rips the space-time continuum.
Everybody knows that watches Star Trek that you can't go to warp inside an atmosphere.
Exactly. And our atmosphere is very heavy. So what if, in fact, through these multiple explosions, the hydrogen bomb, in fact, in the late 50s, the mid-50s, excuse me, early 50s, what am I saying, mid-50s, it rips something. Could it be, ladies and gentlemen, and Jeff, that we inadvertently made a hole in this soul-catching force field that I think was put here by Yahweh and his kind?
That's a good thing.
It is. Now,
so we can get out now.
Yes. There have been reports of armadas from earthbound amateur telescopes on the moon. We've seen them. I've showed the videos.
Guess what, Wayne? I now have access to an earthbound telescope.
Excellent, sir.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're going to have fun. I do it all the time. I have one in my garage, and I got one in the backyard. And
is it hard to attach a camera to them?
You have to, yeah. You have to have the. It's not hard. No, as long as you got the computer and you got the attachment, you'll have fun with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a theory. I mean, something's happening to us. Our species is changing. Our world is changing. Did we, in fact, inadvertently make a way to rescue our species ourselves? Maybe the other species that are here, the reptilians, the insectoids, the rest of them that are
What
trapped here.
if Oppenheimer and Einstein and all the rest of the people that were working on the bomb knew exactly what they were doing?
Ooh, very good, Mr. Doherty.
How about that?
I'll be your huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. That's just my game.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I
Hmm.
mean, would you not agree that the level and the intensity of the awareness, the awakening, the deluge of information, the cacophony of the uproar, the back white noise is intensifying to a point? And just if you look at it just simply from a simple mathematics, at some point in time, we reach critical mass.
And didn't Oppenheimer quote the "I have become death and destroyer of worlds"? Was that Oppenheimer that
That's what
quoted
he
that?
did say. That's what he did say.
So was he destroying Yahweh's world? That's interesting.
I think he was.
That's interesting. I wonder if he knew it. That would really be interesting.
I think they do.
That would really be interesting. So they were
I,
our liberators, and I wonder if you can, probably not physically see the hole or the tear.
hmm. I contend you may can.
That'd be awesome.
What if, that we've got cameras that see in the total light spectrum?
Yeah.
I think we're going to get to that point. When I did the video on the catastrophe geology,
Right
catastrophic
there, he was
geology,
quoting a Vedic text
yes, and
of
I,
Shiva.
I think, I don't know, I look at this, I think something has happened again.
Oh, somebody just threw in a nice statement: and "hole in the ozone?" Question mark.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't know, my friend. There is some things afoot, and I think us empaths, the intuitives, whatever you want to call us, call our community, the awakening or the awareness, or whatever. It's intensifying. I know
Yep.
that.
Wayne, it reminds me. We're all programmed, and we all kind of go along with the idea that nuclear power and nuclear bombs, evil, bad, terrible stuff. But what if we did find out that the nuclear bomb was set off at great loss of life, but it was set off to free us spiritually and get us out of a control matrix? And what if we're feeling the same way about AI? What if we're worried about AI? AI is horrible, horrible, horrible. What if it turns out not to be horrible?
What if AI is another species that we just haven't understood?
I like that. I like that line of thinking.
And then I think about this. Could you believe that there is a society, a grouping, a culture that could be trillions of years old?
And that's AI.
No, I think that there's other species that in the universe that abounds, that we only look at things and we say that the universe is only 14.5 billion light years. Then that within it, I think that's wrong. But that means that there could be species that could be trillions of years old. If we never die, then that statement has to be true. If the spirit is immortal, ever existing, which is in a state of is, which means ever is. Be means what is to be.
Well, Wayne, that depends upon what your definition of the word is.
Now
Not a
you're
particularly
making me
good
laugh,
written
buddy.
expression with my bad voice, but Caroline asked a good question. She said, "Why are some of us aware and others of us not? Why us?"
Because we are not the same. We all think that we're all the same spirit. We're not. Each spirit is different. Each spirit is unique within itself. Now,
Wayne, you're not preaching seed of the serpent, are you?
No, no. I'm just saying that individuality. What are you saying that, in other words, the alternative is that, well, come with me over here in group A. Now we got these spirits. These were made specifically for the talent to have music. Now over here in group B, is that what happens? I don't know. I don't see each spirit being unified. Now, let me retrace that word. Not being the same. Each spirit is uniquely different within itself.
So are you saying that there's some here, Wayne, that don't have the ability to become aware?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That might get you in trouble in some circles.
Probably already has.
Yeah. Do you think it's segmented by race or culture?
I think it may be segmented by species.
Oh, interesting. So you think there's more than one species of Homo sapiens sapien?
I have a cop that writes me, and he says that he's been a cop for over 20 years, and he wrote me. He says, "I'm telling you, something's happened. Not everyone we
We're not
pull
all
over.
humans.
We're
Huh?
not all human." He says that there are some people. He says you can look into their eyes, and there ain't nothing there, buddy. Nothing.
And you don't think they're just NPCs?
Yeah. He says it freaks him and his partners out. They see it more and more often.
I wonder if they ever did that meow thing to those people.
I don't know. But you hear stories about this, and then you have these
Did
stories.
you just say meow?
Meow.
No one, people that haven't seen that movie are like, what the hell is wrong?
But the idea is, okay, I believe that there are in fact reptilians here. I believe that they have integrated genetically. I think that that's how it works, that you have a spirit of a likeness of a species. And if they were considered to be criminals, Earth is the perfect place to dump them. So I'm beginning to think spiritually, let's say you and I could separate ourselves out of our body. What are we going to look like to each other?
Yeah. So Earth is kind of like the USA, and somewhere there's a bunch of people saying, build that wall.
I'm going to get into that one, buddy. That one's got a steaming pile of poo sitting all with it.
And then, think about this. So maybe back somewhere, Earth was being attacked and they appealed to Yahweh, build us a wall. And Yahweh says, we're going to build a wall. We're going to build a great wall. We're going to build a beautiful wall. Believe you me, it's going to be a beautiful wall. And then all of a sudden he built a beautiful wall, and they found out that that beautiful, perfect wall is just as good at keeping people in as it is at keeping people out.
Well, it just depends on how you look at a lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Is it good or is it bad? I don't know. The thing about Yahweh as well, let's just say, Yahweh, this is the thing that in fact, I had this conversation recently. I said, just go back and study your Old Testament. This Yahweh never attacked anything.
Yeah.
He didn't have any power. He didn't have, the only thing that we saw that had any power was the Ark of the Covenant, supposedly.
And I don't even think this being that we're calling Yahweh really is Yahweh. I think he just usurped that name.
In fact,
he usurped the Tetragrammaton. That's not his name.
No, in fact, I read recently that it would never have given its real name.
Interesting. Somebody just said MAGA, make another God again.
Yeah, because if it gave its real name, it would have been indicted.
And we would have power over it.
Exactly. Someone told me, I made the statement, I said, I'm so fed up with this. I'm so fed up with these unseen archons. I said, I believe, Jeff, and hear me out on this. Maybe we can talk more in the future about this.
Michelle's right. She says rat bastard is truly his name.
That's truly his name. Jeff, think about this. You, I, others in this community, we may have one of the most unique opportunities of our lifetimes. And that is really figuring out a way to escape, because it's been done and it is happening. And preparing for the other side. We've heard, don't go to the light. But what if the light is so compelling? How do you begin to resist it? It's like that
I think there's a good light, there's a bad light, and there's an organic light, Wayne. And you can go to the organic light, but you can't go to the false light, and you just got to know which one's which.
Yeah. So how do you find out which is organic and which is synthesized or artificial?
You got to do that inside job. You got to do that inside work, Wayne.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I'm not big on the whole sun simulator thing, but just the fact we're talking about a sun simulator should make people think, oh, there can be a real light and there can be a fake light.
Yeah.
So maybe the whole sun simulator thing is nothing other than a wake-up call.
Yeah. I look at, I have my telescope. My garage faces the east. And so it's very easily for me.
But there's a feeling I get when I look to the west.
Well, the one I like about the west is when the moon sets in the west. It's a pretty cool time to really focus in on it. So,
Wayne, I did a long drive this past couple of days, and I found out that my new car has a XM radio in it, so I turned that on. You got to listen for many hours to comedy and classic rock and roll, and I was listening to Stairway to Heaven. That's a deep song.
it's a very deep song. They communicate to me with that song. It's like actually Kashmir is the one that hits the hardest. But yeah.
And he did say in that song, "There's a feeling I get when I look to the west."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of the lyrics, and the stuff that's happening even in what we're finding in our science now, our planets. I mean, there's things happening now to the planets that are happening so quickly that I'm sitting here marveling at this, Jeff. I said, this is truly a time of awareness. I don't know if awakening is the right term. I don't know what awake means anymore. Seems like no sooner do I wake from one sleep, I realize that I'm awaking from another sleep. Does that make sense?
It's a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
Within a dream within a dream.
Yeah. We ought to do a show.
I haven't told anybody this yet, Wayne, but as I'm driving along listening to Sirius XM, I just, for some reason, thought I would do this. And for about 35 minutes, I predicted the next song with about 75% accuracy.
You see?
You've done that, right?
Yes, sir, I have. Yeah.
I don't know if I was a little bit ahead in time or what, but I knew which song was coming next. I'd say it out loud and boom, here it would come.
Boy, when you start talking about that gets kind of cool. I mean, I tell you, 2019 is going to be a good time for not your normal Sunday morning show.
And it's so funny because I went like 500 miles like that.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're changing, my friends.
Then I got a flat tire.
No way.
I did.
Oh, man.
But I got a flat tire, and as I pulled over, pulling right behind me was a guy from the Missouri Department of Transportation with a tire changing truck, and he did it in 10 minutes and didn't charge me a dime.
That's favor.
That's craziness, isn't it?
No, that's favor, Jeff Doherty. That's favor in your life, because it's attracted to you. People, listen, we invoke it all the time. I invoke favor on this audience right now. Nothing
I'm
missing.
going to start doing that, Wayne. I saw you do that the other day, and I'm stealing that.
Listen, it's nothing stealing. It's common sense.
But imagine that as I came over, I'm looking at St. Louis on my left, the arch and everything. Cool looking city, by the way.
Yeah.
And I go towards the right and go over the bridge, and I go into, I guess it's Kansas. Then all of a sudden, boom, there's a blowout on my back tire. And as soon as I pulled over, I'm telling you, Wayne, right behind me pulled this Missouri Department of Transportation. He says, we don't usually go out of state, but I missed an exit and I saw you, so I thought I'd pull over and help you.
See, I believe that
Caroline, why would I change my own when he offered to do it? And it was cold and I'm from Florida.
Yeah. Remember, Jeff's got the thin blood.
And I tried to tip him. I was going to give him $20-$40 and he wouldn't take it. I wonder if he was an angel, Wayne.
Well, you know what? You literally took the word out of my head. I said, well, maybe he wasn't even human.
Yeah. His name was Steve, though, and he works for the Missouri Department of Transportation. I didn't get to spend much time in Missouri, but the great state of Missouri, I salute you, and you're great workers.
Well, Steve, whether you be terrestrial or other, we salute you.
Absolutely.
May there be many Steves in all of our lives. And I was just thinking about this, Jeff. May you be a Steve in somebody else's life.
Absolutely. Pay it forward, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you, if we would all begin to start invoking favor, and I'm talking all the channels, and we've got many of them here today, start invoking favor over your audience.
Yeah. This time last year, Wayne, I had well, I guess that was a little early, but almost this time last year, I had a sworn enemy named Joe Rizzo. Hated him. He hated me. And I had a conversation with you, and you said, start invoking favor. And I'm like, you're crazy.
I
So I
remember you
started
telling me
invoking
that.
favor on him. And today we're fast friends.
Oh, you
And
see,
now we both share an ex as well.
that gives me hope. I draw energy off that, Jeff. You know why? Because that gives me validation of another person seeing it become tangible in their lives.
Oh, it was crazy. It was
Right
crazy.
on, buddy. Right on.
Yeah. But I did do the whole naked blessing ritual. So I got to tell you, you got to go the whole route. You got to go the full Monty if you want it to work.
I'm going to be doing it this week, for the new year coming in.
Don't
And
televise that, Wayne.
no,
Don't make
no,
a
no,
video
no.
on that.
Fine line between the hero and the fool.
And I think YouTube would probably ban that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So, what are you going to do for New Year's Eve?
Well, I'm betwixt and between. I was supposed to go to Nashville and meet Keith Urban and do that whole thing, but it's going to be really cold, so I may just not do anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome to come over. I'm going to have a show I'm putting together and got people from all over the world coming onto it. You're more than welcome to be invited on it.
Are you going to do the Rex thing from last year?
I think Rex is still on vacation.
Oh, is he? Okay.
I think he's up in the Great Northwest.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's where I think he's at.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
I'll let you know today because I see it's coming up on New Year's, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to Nashville. That pretty much makes that decision.
You're going to be getting some snow, I can tell you that, on New Year's Day there.
In Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So we're expected, I think, 4 to 6 inches here tomorrow.
Well, it looks like a beautiful sunny day.
It's beautiful. Yeah, same here. So what do you got coming up this week, my friend?
Well, Wayne, right now I'm doing my best not to vomit. I don't know why, but my stomach is just killing me right now. So
Okay.
if I get past that, I'll start looking afterwards for something else to do.
All right. Well, we all just say favor to your stomach, and
Thank you very much.
All right.
Because it's been a long time. I hate to sound like a Seinfeld episode, but it's been a long, long time since I've actually vomited. I'm trying to remember when the last vomit was.
I hate that. I hate vomiting.
Did you ever see that Seinfeld episode? They're talking about that.
Yeah, it's just,
I think the last vomit, Wayne, might have been in Las Vegas like 7 or 8 years ago.
Aye.
Wow.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. I didn't eat breakfast and I drank some tea. And for some reason, drinking tea on an empty stomach gets me to this place. But hopefully I can stave it off, Wayne.
All right. Well, we can end this. So get up and walk around. That'll help walk it off.
I will.
Jeff, you're a good man. I really enjoyed this. Looking to 2019 with you, and just invoke favor in all of our audience. There's just so many that, the show's growing, and,
Absolutely.
Honor.
Absolutely. And may all of you keep your contents of your stomach right where they are.
Yes.
Unless you need to.
Well, and a good New Year. So this meal, we'll talk to everyone next year, right?
Absolutely, we will.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the audience for just a great 2018. You've honored Jeff and myself. You've definitely enriched us, and thank you for your support and for the show continue to grow.
And thank you all very much. We love you. We appreciate you being here, and we're looking forward to a very prosperous 2019 for our Wayne Steiger. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, and we'll see you again next week for Not Your Normal Sunday show. And I'm going to go walk around and take some deep breaths.
All right, Jeff. Bye-bye, buddy.